this little red
Bulb. The bulb, yeah.
Yes, and that goes off at what temperature? That's what breaks, I assume, and then water starts flowing.
So sprinklers have we call it the yoke, right, and the bulb. So the bulb is a piece of glass that contains some mercury, believe it or not, and some air entrapment. And what happens is the temperature rises. Now each one of those bulbs have a different temperature setting. Red is 68 degrees Celsius, so the temperature at that point has to reach 68 degrees Celsius for that bulb to pop, and then it basically kicks out the yoke and the flow starts happening.
Welcome to the Jonx Industrial Insights podcast. Jonx is a specialized brokerage firm in Cape Town with a deep understanding of the industrial real estate market. We are committed to helping businesses, investors, and property owners navigate the complexities of this dynamic sector. Our podcast was created to explore key topics that impact industrial properties and to educate the stakeholders in the sector. We trust these discussions will add value, and we invite you to follow us on LinkedIn and share this valuable information. Right, so today we're talking about something that can save lives, protect assets, and reduce insurance costs. And this is fire prevention and sprinkler systems. And joining me is Zenti Bishop, the CEO of Kynotek and a fire equipment expert. So welcome, Zenti. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Neil. I'm Zenti Bishop. I'm a third generation, if you can call it, fire protection specialist in this industry. And I own a company called Kynotek here in the Western Cape. We're the only ASIB-approved pump manufacturer for the Western Cape at the moment. And I've been in this industry for just shy of 20 years.
And thanks for also making the time to come and join us and to speak about this interesting topic that is confusing to some people out there. But we'll dive into it and get into the details. So, just to start off on a lighter note, I think let's clear the air. A myth that I hear often, and perhaps the movies has created this, is that sprinkler systems goes off all at once and it floods the whole building. Is this true or false?
No, it's absolutely false. It's a great narrative. Like the movies, you dead right, created this idyllic scene where the one guy pulls a lever and the sprinkler system activates, and then the guy and the girl kisses. But in reality, if you can imagine how unromantic water that's been stagnant in pipes for over 10 years might be, it might not smell so nicely.
Not so romantic.
No, it's not so romantic. So definitely a myth. No, fires actually, just to clarify it so people don't ever think that this is what will happen, a sprinkler will only activate in the immediate area of the fire. And you actually need the temperature to rise and activate the sprinkler for a sprinkler to activate in that area. So they don't all activate at the same time, only the immediate sprinklers to that area where the fire is.
Okay, perfect. And maybe just explain a little bit more in detail. You can see if there's a sprinkler lower down, and if the viewers have seen this before, it's got this little red
bulb, yeah.
Yes, and that goes off at what temperature? That's what breaks, I assume, and then water starts flowing.
So sprinklers have we call it the yoke, right, and the bulb. So the bulb is a piece of glass that contains some mercury, believe it or not, and some air entrapment. And what happens is the temperature rises. Now each one of those bulbs have a different temperature setting. Red is 68 degrees Celsius, so the temperature at that point has to reach 68 degrees Celsius for that bulb to pop, and then it basically kicks out the yoke and the flow starts happening. And then you've got yellow, which is 79 degrees. In your roofs you'll have 93 degrees, which and 141 degrees. So you'll have green ones, which is 93, and then 141 are blue. and all different types of sprinklers for different applications. But it's very in depth. That will take up half the day if we go into each sprinkler.
Got it. Yeah, no, but thanks for that explanation. That's extremely interesting. So I think let's start big picture. Why is fire prevention such a critical part of property ownership and management in South Africa? And what risks are you seeing on the ground? And what are the reasons that these risks aren't mitigated?
Well, I think first and foremost, the general perception of fire safety and fire equipment is it's unnecessary cost. People look at it and go, it's a grudge purchase. They basically purchasing this equipment because someone has told them to do it. If you look at health and safety in South Africa, we've got the OHSAct. 10 years, let's not 10 years, but let's say 20 years ago in South Africa, you could go onto a factory site without safety shoes.
Yeah.
Can you imagine doing that today?
Yes.
You'd be chased off site, never to return again.
Yes.
And so the risk, health and safety out there has got more stringent with time. It's the same with fire. All of the health and safety laws that were implemented based on case studies and where actual events occurred. Something dropped on their toe, they lost their toes, or they weren't seen by the forklift and they were driven over or whatever, And it's the same with fire. Mm-hmm. Fire safety evolves over time. And I've seen businesses have more of a positive approach towards health and safety regulations and creating safety cultures. Mm. But fire forms a major part of safety culture. And,
yes.
And a good safety culture is, making sure that your fire sprinkler systems, your hand fire appliances, etc., are more than just compliant. You have to ask yourself, what are we protecting in the end?
Yeah.
We're not protecting the actual product. If a fire breaks out and the product goes, that's one thing. But if someone dies, that is
a knock-on effect.
That's a really bad thing, yeah. And that's what we're protecting.
Yes.
Fire is life safety.
Yes.
It's not about making sure you don't lose your product, your carrots don't burn down in a fire or whatever, but it's more that your employees don't succumb to a fire.
Yes. Yes. It's much more than just work stoppages.
100%. I mean, it's loss of income. It's loss of life. You cannot replace a life. You can replace stock.
Yes. No, 100%. And I think I want to jump on what you just said in terms of as we evolve as human beings and incidents happen, lives are lost. Am I correct in saying we learn from our mistakes, and that is where standards and legal, like the OHSAct, gets updated because
100%.
we've learned from that. So why I'm saying this is, we all are business owners and need to run a tight ship and look at our budget and all of that, but I often hear people like, why do you need these stringent regulations? And what I want to make clear is that this was not pulled out of the air or someone that's sitting thinking about things, that it was built on what happened in the past, lives that were affected, businesses that were affected. And so the legal side of it is updated, as well as insurance and whatever else may come after that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when you look at fire systems and fire safety as a whole, there's no regulation that's ever been made that, throughout, if you look at any regulation in South Africa, nothing gets made without proper consideration and promulgation. I mean, Parliament decides on all regulation that is passed. And to get to a point where you present a regulation to Parliament, I mean, this is Parliament we're talking about.
Yes.
You're not going to provide Clever Oaks with a piece of toilet paper that you wrote some cool ideas on.
Yes, sure.
No. So they do look at international standards, international best practices, LLC, the British standards, etc. Those are really, especially in South Africa, because we come from a British standards background.
Yeah.
they really look at the British standards and LLC standards to see where and how we can improve.
Yes.
But again, just like any safety, it's a constant working document. You have
Continuous
to look at
improvement, like they say.
You have to look at working that regulation as a working document. It will change with time because we'll get cleverer.
Yes.
Or cleverer.
Got you. So South Africa has quite strict fire codes for a good reason, like we just said, but a lot of property owners and tenants don't fully understand them, and they get updated relatively often, like we just explained. And could you break down what the fire codes actually say about sprinkler systems in industrial buildings specifically?
Well, it's important to remember that there's not one regulation that specifically just is a one-stop go. We've got the basic regulation that everyone has to comply with, which is the National Building Regulation of 1997, which then got changed in 1992, SANS 10400 Part T. And what happened, with the building regulations, it says to you how you will build, how classifications work. And the building regulations itself references the sprinkler codes. It recognizes SANS 10287 as a sprinkler code, and it recognizes the ASIB, or the Automatic Sprinkler Inspection Bureau, as a authorized inspectorate. And then you have to reference, the SANS codes, SANS 10287 again, with regards to sprinklers. So if you want to educate people, in a sense, you have to look at and say, right, what is the minimum? That's building regulations, right? What does the building regulations say for my occupancy? It says, I need sprinklers, and then you have to reference SANS 10287. It might say you don't need sprinklers, depending on what type of classification the building gets. And then from that point, you will then have a Form 3. Now, interestingly enough, that Form 3 classifies the actual rating of the building, whether it's a J3, D2, there's multiple ratings. And that classification gets put in with the plans to council. And that's part of the submission pack with your occupancy certificate.
Yes. And that, I would assume, in that process is where you look at things like your fire load classification.
Yes, 100%. That's where
because every business is different.
What type of materials? Is it going to be an industrial? Is it a storage warehouse? At that moment in time, the builders or the building owners, it's hard to determine what's going to be in there.
Yes.
I mean,
it evolves.
Yeah, it evolves. I'm building a little business park and I have to put a classification on it. I know what I'm doing, but I don't know I don't even know who I'm going to sell these units to now, but I have to put a classification on it.
Yes.
And all of this has to be looked at. And I think where people's misconception is that there's constant regulatory changes. I mean, SANS 10400 wasn't updated up until last year. The version before that was 2011. So we're talking about 13 good years.
Yes.
Between...
A lot has happened.
A lot has happened.
Yes.
A lot has changed.
Yeah.
I mean, 13 years ago, if you drove down the N7, there was a lot of open spaces, eh?
Yes.
How does it look today?
Yeah. Crazy
a lot
development.
changes.
Yeah. Yes. So a question around that would be, and something that I pick up, and this is specifically for brokers and maybe small and medium enterprises that are looking at leasing or selling buildings, is that there is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's this perception of anything above stacking 3 meter high, you need in-rack sprinklers. Can you maybe explain that a little bit? It obviously also has to do with your fire loads, but we have so many frustrations as brokers that we have a deal, a tenant that's interested in a building. We get to the process of finalizing the lease agreement, and the landlord picks up, this guy wants to stack 6 meters high, and he's stacking, highly flammable equipment or clothing or whatever the case may be, and right there and then that deal gets cancelled because they didn't budget for a 10 million rand, pump system and fire prevention system. So can you perhaps touch a little bit on stacking height and in-rack sprinklers?
It's very important it comes back to one simple thing: the landlord's responsibility versus the tenant's responsibility. The landlord is responsible. If you think about a building as a matchbox, he's responsible to make sure that the fire protection to protect that matchbox is in place.
Yeah.
But now Peter comes along and Peter says, "Hey, I want to rent the space from you, meneer, and I want to put my big racks all the way to the roof, and I've got oil drums, and I want to store it." It should be a simple yes, no problem from the landlord perspective, saying yes, you can rent the space. However, the tenant is responsible for the fit out of the fire sprinkler system internally if it doesn't meet the classification which the building was designed for.
Yes.
And there's no way of getting past that.
Yes.
If the building was not designed to accommodate that, and a tenant wants that, then they're going to have to fit the bill.
Yes.
It's unfortunately just how it works out there.
Yes.
I've had it many instances. Just to give an example, I've literally had a client that had me fly to Bloemfontein, and they're a big printing company, and they said, "Listen, we're interested in buying this building. Can you go have a look at the fire system for us?"
Yes.
And I got there and I said, "This is for your application. You're going to prepare yourself to spend some more money because you need water upgrades, you need tanks, pumps, etc." And that was the factor in the deal that made the deal fall through, because they would have to spend too much to get to a point where they need it.
Yes.
And I think overall, the biggest response to these type of things are always reactive and not proactive.
Yes.
Nobody builds a building to rent it out and says, let me think, what's the worst tenant I can have?
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to do that.
Yes, yes.
So if you design it, and your building meets the minimum criteria and you've got tenants, I think it's a collaboration.
Yes.
Obviously, your tenant's got insurance of some sort. If he has sprinkler protection in the racks, he's going to get some sort of discount from the insurer because the risk is mitigated.
Yes.
And if not, the landlord at most has the right to say, well, if you can't, conform with minimum standards, you unfortunately can't rent this premises from us, as hard as that may sound.
Yes. And you mentioned that, you're a landlord yourself, not only a fire prevention expert, but let's talk about going into that negotiation of renting a building. It's maybe a little bit off topic, but it is, how do you go about, now I'm a new business owner and I want to rent a space from you, but I've got a high fire load or a highly flammable equipment or whatever the case may be that I'm stacking in your building. So now a sprinkler system is required. We get a quote and it's 8 million or whatever the case may be. Let's talk about amortization and what is the typical things that I, as a business owner, what is something that we can negotiate? And this is just for the people watching and listening, that we can explain what to expect and what type of negotiations you need to prepare yourself for when you go into a building and there's no, in-rack sprinklers or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I think it's very important what you just mentioned, that there has to be it comes down to some homework.
Yeah.
If you're starting a business, the last thing on your business plan is fire sprinklers, because first and foremost, new businesses, there's just no money. We know that. It's just, you're in the beginning days, you're still figuring a logo out, never mind to figure out whether you need sprinkler systems in a building.
Correct.
So it's very important to, from the start, be open with your landlords.
Yeah.
And I think with the training that's been going on with agents like yourself, where you guys have come in and you sit down with experts and learn a bit more about the industry and compliance factors, etc., and consult. it now kind of makes it easier for people to rent premises, because property companies like yourself would be like, okay, what are you doing? Let's do some homework for you. And it's a proactive response to what's going on out there.
Yes.
Which very few people do,
Yeah.
you know. But it will be a starting point where you're going to look at, right, I need to stack stuff. Can I rent maybe 2 properties on the same premises and stack lower? Yes, I'm going to have to spend more in rental, but the rental offset versus the cost of a sprinkler system, you can barely compare them.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So if no one's starting a business and buying a premises, so maybe there are people, phone me. I need friends like that.
But you know I have our details.
Yeah, you know I have our details. Get in touch. We've got a solution for your money.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you having this conversation with your landlord or with your professional company like Jonx that's going, right, what are you storing? How high do you want to store it? What's your plan? Everyone knows at that point whether they're going to need racks in their warehouse. They know how much product they might want to put in. And it's not just in the beginning when they start renting it. It's constant partnership.
Yeah.
When I started my business, I had 250 square meter workshop, and I thought there's no way in hell I'm going to fill this place.
Yes.
I've now got 3 units and it's not enough.
Yeah.
Have that constant partnership with the landlord, with the property company, and say, right, we're running out of space. We might have to now start looking for alternative options. Maybe sometimes it's cheaper renting another facility, or adding another facility. That most landlords might have multiple buildings under their portfolio, and they can maybe advise you on an alternative, or get down to the point where you're ready to do the grudge purchase of your life, because that's what it is.
Yes.
And purchase a fire sprinkler system, and you pray that there's enough water supply from council, that you don't need pumps and tanks, because
yes,
I think that's when you come to the 8 million mark that you just highlighted.
Yeah.
Sprinklers themselves not that expensive.
Yes.
It's the water supplies.
It's the water supplies.
Yeah.
And I think a big thing is also for a new business to rent a space is, for what term do you rent it? That's so difficult, because the usual is 3 years, 5 years,
Correct.
or 10 years, right? But if you are going to rent for short term, let's say a landlord accepts 2 years or 3 years, obviously you're not going to spend that type of money. So then rather, as you said, look at, if you need to stack high, rent a place next door, get an option to expand to that space once your business grows, so that you don't have to put in in-rack sprinklers or whatever the case may be.
Correct.
And you can then rent for shorter terms. Obviously the ideal is a 10-year lease, and you can,
But that's when you install a sprinkler system.
Yes, that's when you install a sprinkler system.
Yeah. If you think about it, if you're renting for 3 years, you're not going to go and spend 8 million rand on a sprinkler system if you can rent another, let's say, 250 square meter building next door for, say, 16 or 17,000 rand a month.
Yeah.
Because over that 3-year period, you're not even talking 3.5 million rand in additional rental, which is also tax deductible, just like a fire system. But
yeah,
it's not going to get to the 8 million point.
Yes.
When you're looking at 10 years, 20 years, or purchasing a building, that's when you want to spend that. And sprinkler buildings for property owners, it actually adds value to that building.
Yeah,
100%.
Absolutely. In terms of the importance of staying updated with fire codes, can you talk about the classification and when it might change if a tenant changes the use of the building? So I rent this building, but my business now grows into a different classification or a different type of business, where I bring in a bigger fire load, whatever the case may be, and maybe explain to us why that is important to stay updated with it.
Yeah, I think this, like I mentioned earlier, the moment you build your office park or building park, you've got a specific classification in mind. At that point, you don't know, like I said, you don't know who's going to be there. So it's important for landlords to constantly, and property owners and tenants themselves even, because the law comes down, quite hard on property owners. In the building regulations, it's the property owners, directors, and facility managers. So when you look at facility managers, it can sometimes be the tenant, because the tenant signs the responsibility for maintaining that facility.
Yes.
So they could be held, responsible in the event that something goes wrong.
Yes.
So it's important to look at, have that conversation, involve, an engineer, a fire engineer, or involve someone in the fire industry that can come and have a look. Say, listen, we just want a general audit. Give us an audit. Have a look at what we have, what we need, what are we complying. This is our classification. We're stacking. Have someone inspect the premises on an annual basis.
Yeah.
I mean, even, and that way it just kind of gives you that little bit of coverage, and paperwork to say, well, we've done the necessary due diligence.
Yes.
I think after all, that is the most important thing when looking at fire systems, is making sure even if you, the tenant and the facility manager, so to say, because you're responsible for the maintenance and upkeep, do your part, so that if something goes wrong, basically you can be excluded from the matter in some sense.
Yes.
Because there's paperwork to provide and say, well, but we've done it. We're not in control of the building. We've recommended these changes, and unfortunately, that's where it ended.
Yes.
And the same for the landlords. I mean, the correspondence, I do know that there's some good correspondence usually between landlords and tenants, but if the landlord knows that the tenant that's going in there is going to be, manufacturing perfume, and his building classification was for light industrial on a J3, which basically is a classification for non-flammable goods, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, now you bring alcohol and flammables in.
It's going to smell great while it burns, but it's going to burn rapidly. So have a look at that. Have a look at whether they can fit that in, because when classifications are put out, the design criteria from the architects and the structural engineers and the fire engineers, they design the walls a specific thickness. There's glasses, there's windows that are installed, there's for penetrations, and they classify these penetrations to be sealed or fire stopped for that specific classification.
Yeah.
Now you go and change it, that fire might just spread throughout the building, because the classifications aren't the building, the way they build that, it isn't for that classification.
Yes. And I think to add on to what you're saying is that, in terms of the Occupational Health and Safety Act, mitigating risks as far as reasonably practicable, and to add into what you were just saying, and what came to mind is a risk assessment, baseline risk assessment, health, safety, environmental, and obviously that includes fire. And whether your consultant, whoever maybe your facilities manager has got a bit of a health and safety background, hopefully, it is critical importance that you have that, because like you said, then you have a living document that you can work from, that has a management plan, and if something goes wrong, you can prove how far are you along with this management plan. Have you put effort into it? Have you put money and time into it? And that ultimately, when something goes wrong, is worth gold.
100%.
And then so I think just to throw that in is tenants, landlords, speak about these things in terms of baseline risk assessment, because once you put in pen to paper, or you have someone like yourself coming and doing an inspection, we tend to we are used to a certain industry, we move there every day, and you need a new set of eyes to come and see things that you're not seeing anymore. Good. And which is obvious fire risks, health and safety risks, whatever the case may be. So I think what also comes to mind is just that being coachable. Always stay coachable, always be someone that's willing to learn, because even if I've been in this business for 40 years, you can't tell me anything. A fresh set of eyes always picks up something. And
100%. And I mean, if you think about it, it's always a good saying in health and safety, stop, think, act.
Yes.
And you can apply that to almost anything, in the sense, you're going to have someone that's going to audit the system, but which is great, and which is going to add a fresh set of eyes. But if you're planning on making your racks higher, stop, think about it. What's the impact going to be? I'm going higher. I've got really flammable stuff. Is there an impact? Because that could have, before you go and extend the racks, start planning on what mitigation you'd have to implement.
Yes.
Half the time, the racks are extended or storage capacities are exceeded, and then the response to fire safety is reactive.
Yes.
And a reactive response is never a good response. It just makes people feel under pressure, and they go, oh, but when did the regulation change? Why is this now? The regulation's always been there.
Yes. Yes.
It's just, if you had planned it better, there could have been mitigation, or there could have been a talk with a fire engineer and said, well, maybe you should not consider doing that.
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe it's better to rent another place. So always consult the experts.
Yes.
And that's the big thing. I think I've seen it a few times in the aviation sector, where there were court cases, and the judge would ask you, what qualifies you? And you would have to state your qualifications.
Yes.
So a business owner is everything. They're the fire marshal, they're the health and safety, they're the medical first aid, they're everything.
Yeah.
But in some cases, you just cannot. You need experts.
Yeah.
You need experts and guidance.
Yes.
And it's not always going to cost you money. That's the funniest thing. You can have conversations with fire consultants. They're very approachable people. They have families and children. They don't bite. So it's nice to have that partnership with companies that are there to advise you on these things. See it as your own source of advisors.
Yes, yes. No, true. It doesn't always have to cost an arm and a leg. So let's chat a little bit about more practical examples. So let's say I own or I'm renting 1,800 square meter warehouse that's distributing all my let's say e-commerce. I think South Africa is booming in terms of international e-commerce platforms and businesses that is investing in South Africa, and we've got a couple of big ones ourselves. So if we look at an e-commerce warehouse, for instance, and for example, some of the racks are 2.5 meters high, some of them are 5 meters high. Do I need a sprinkler system or an in-rack sprinkler system? And I think the fire load again comes in there. But let's say, for interest's sake, I've got clothing, I've got a little bit of electrical equipment, and obviously boxes.
It's basically like asking someone how long is a piece of rope.
Yeah,
because like you said, obviously the fire the factors of the fire, the category of risk, that's what we refer to it as. That is something that will have to be looked at. In short, yes, you will need sprinkler protection. But when it comes to clothing and garments, are they being hung up? Are they folded in boxes? All of these things are taken into consideration.
Yeah.
So we look at the categories and risk of risk, and I mean, these type of documents are accessible to everyone. I mean, online you can go download and pay for the SANS 10287. That will give you the categories, or you can request a copy of the 12th edition ASIB sprinkler rules and pay for it from the ASIB, and you can see what the requirements there are, what the stacking heights are, if you need sprinkler protection. But again, what qualifies you?
Yes.
So if someone had to come to me, let's say you came to me and said, listen, Zenti, I've got a building here. I'm doing drop shipping. Okay. I've got toy cars coming in from China. It's plastic cars, but they come they're encapsulated, or they come in boxes. What will my category be? I would go and look it up, and I'd say, right, this is your category. This is what the rulebook says. It says you can stack to, let's say, 2.5 meters or 2.1 meters, and you're going to need a density of sprinkler protection in the roof of this. Then you might get away with not having rack sprinklers. It's not always to say you need rack sprinklers.
Yeah.
But certain goods, I mean, I can give you an example. When we look at rack, and I'll look at the ASIB 12th edition rule book, because in South Africa, they are the organization with the most up-to-date rules and standards out there, and they are deemed the AHJ, the authority which has jurisdiction. Okay. They're seen in terms of the law as the inspecting body that is allowed to inspect sprinkler installations. So when I look at their rules and I go to rack storage, right, to give you an idea, there are multiple classifications. But if we had roof-only, a roof rack with, I want to do roof without rack. Sorry about the paging. It gets interesting. So rack and single post pallet storage, right? With a 7.5 mil density sprinkler system in the roof, you can stack 4.7 meters high.
Okay.
With no sprinkler protection, you can't. Okay, you have to conform to the 2.1 meter rule. With category 2, that drops from 4.7 to 3.4. Category 3 again drops down to 2.2 with just roof sprinklers.
Yes.
And category 4 is 1.6 meters. Now, you can see how the stacking height is implemented. And I think the main thing is because of the way fire spreads on and how quickly, rapidly the fire accelerates in different instances. But I think there's a video. We can literally have a look at a video. I'll show you a video of how a fire starts in a rack, and I think this is something that will really put it into perspective for people, how fires in racks look and why sprinkler protection for racks is so important. Mine seated cell. So FM Global is just you'll hear the explanations.
Vary worldwide. Although your facilities may meet local codes, is that enough to ensure your business remains resilient? FM Global has over 100 years' experience doing scientific research to prevent disasters at your facilities. You are about to see what could happen in a warehouse during a large-scale fire.
So you can see this is literally a testing facility where they test sprinklers. It's not just myths and stuff we suck out of our thumbs,
Watch the difference between a facility that's well protected and one that's not.
I love the fact that they have a counter there, because the reality is the fire department is not your neighbor. They have to drive, they have to get there.
Yeah, not in South Africa especially.
Yeah.
Not in South Africa.
A fire like this can shut down your facility and even disrupt your supply chain unless you're protected.
So the sprinkler operates 40 seconds,
When the heat hits it, it just activates.
Activates right there.
Look at the difference already. Yes.
1.5 minutes. I mean, look at that. Show me extinguisher that's going to put that out.
That's nerve-wracking, eh? Yeah.
How hot that fire is.
2 minutes have passed. The fire department won't arrive on average for another 8 minutes.
On average, another 8 minutes. Like you said, it depends on how far you're from the closest fire department. It can be much longer than that.
100%.
538 degrees Celsius, enough to weaken structural steel and collapse your building. The fire on the right is completely controlled. An investment in
you can see the fire still building, and that's a topic we'll cover now between control mode sprinklers and ESFR.
Yes.
Which is quite a difference, just so people understand how sprinklers work.
Oh, well, there they have to save their own facility now, the testing facility.
But I mean, this is what it's set up to do.
Yes. Oh, it's crazy. That is completely destroyed. Wow.
I mean, look at that. The boxes, you can still make out what is there. On the left-hand side, look at the glowing on that rack.
On the steel.
The steel's gone. You're replacing that rack.
Yes.
Racks themselves are not cheap.
Melted. Goodness. Oh, that's a brilliant example, and I hope we've kind of hit a little bit of a nerve there. It's always different to see something in action versus, just talking about it, and that was quite nerve-wracking to see the the rack, almost melting as well, and how quickly the product is completely destroyed. Let's talk about sprinkler system common mistakes and assumptions that property owners make, and that is that once the system is installed, they basically never have to think about it again. What is the reality around maintenance of a sprinkler system, the pump house, all of the equipment involved?
So unfortunately, it's quite a true statement that it's forgotten about, because generally it is.
You see that often.
It happens often, yeah. In South Africa, I mean, we've had cases across the country that places actually burned down. I mean, the Macros scenario, when they burned down was due to maintenance issues.
Yes.
And it's kind of, pump rooms are always put in locations, and ICV chambers are always hidden away because it's not pretty aspects. Anything red on a building, an architect hides because it's not part of his vision. But that creates that's part of the reason why people kind of forget about it. However, the responsibility is there. Its responsibility is put on landlords, shareholders, owners, facility managers, directors, to maintain and upkeep their fire system.
Yeah.
The regulation also states the minimum servicing intervals for fire sprinkler systems, and it also requires the sprinkler system to be audited annually.
Yes.
Be it by whoever, but the code only recognizes one company as a inspectorate, and that is the ASIB. So if you have your system audited annually or 6 monthly, some people do it because they want to have a proactive culture.
Yeah.
You're going to pick up issues long before it becomes a problem.
Yes.
Now, I always like to say issues and problems are not the same. An issue is an indication of a problem that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So have it audited, have it tested, have your maintenance carried out in accordance with what the regulations say. For valves, sprinkler valves, for instance, every 3 years.
Yeah.
Your sprinkler valves have to be serviced.
Yeah.
Okay. Your pump, a minimum of one service annually. That is the annual service. That's oil, filters, etc., running, testing, making sure all functionality works. But you have to every week go and run the pumps. That's a minimum requirement of 30 minutes a week. And you have to go and do a test at your ICV chamber every week. Now, if you're proactive in the maintenance and upkeep of your fire sprinkler system, it's something that's never going to make you money. I agree.
Yes.
But it will cost you a lot less money to maintain in the long run.
Yes.
Because good maintenance practices require less repairs.
Yes.
And I've seen it over and over where, say, for instance, the guys don't do their servicing or time lapses, and all of a sudden they've got these issues, where there's now additional things that have to be repaired.
Yeah.
It's simple. You don't buy a Ferrari and don't service it.
Yeah. True.
You have to maintain your equipment.
Yes. And I just, something that comes to mind, I also come out of the factory environments, and we have become, you need to educate people in your business. You as a business owner, and he's, the 16.1, 16.2, Section 82Is of the Occupational Health and Safety Act, you've got a responsibility. But we can get creative in terms of, people that can assist you to make sure that these things are checked. And one thing was working in the clothing industry a couple of years ago is we had a lot of security guards, because it's a lot of valuables, it's a lot of people that's working in these factories. So, we have a staff complement of security of 15 people. Now, if you start getting creative and having the security supervisor night shift to help them, to keep them awake, you ask them to just check these things for you. And there's a lot of inspection apps out there that has the capability to take photos and videos. empower these people to do these things, and you can just check up on it. But it's also, just once you hear these things have to be tested once every week, inspections on all your fire equipment, it starts becoming overwhelming, because there's so many things that we need to look at as business owners. But it's something that it worked tremendously well, where security would advise me, this extinguisher, the gauge is in the red. We need to replace it or get it serviced, whatever the case may be. And so there's creative ways in which you can empower your employees and service providers to just help you to check these things and to make sure. But it's still your responsibility to make sure.
100%. If you think about it, it's actually everyone working at that facility's responsibility. Health and safety and fire safety is all of our responsibilities.
Yeah.
And that is part of creating a good safety culture and fire culture. To tell people, listen, but yes, we know this is all stuff for the event where there's a miracle fire that breaks out here in the vegetable department, but have people trained, take it more serious in the sense that, rather have people trained to respond in the event of a fire and to be able to assist than have people running around or running into fires to save people and then perishing due to smoke inhalation.
Yes.
And I think in that sense, it can feel onerous for a lot of companies, and it is onerous due to the law, but there are people out there to help you. There are ways that you can address it. And I mean, the fact that, like you said, the industry you were in had the security guys. I mean, we in a country where there's unemployment of epic proportions.
Yes.
And there's opportunity to create employment within the sector and have someone that's going to be responsible for it and that's going to help you. Property owners and landlords, for me being a property owner myself, I want to have that blame removed off me, So when I have to have something maintained, then I'll get a reputable company to do it, because then they take the responsibility.
Yeah.
They're the qualified ones for it, and they take the responsibility. Even though I can do it, you make sure that you have someone take that responsibility from you.
Yes.
If it's a security company, great, but provide the training and have regular training sessions and interactions with experts.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like I do a lot of training and I don't charge for my training because I feel that I would like to empower the industry out there. I manufacture pumps and maintain them, etc. But that's where I make my money. With training, it's more creating a positive culture so that, when people are faced with a disaster, that's a fire, because it is a disaster.
Yes.
They know how to correctly, address the situation and how to respond.
So in terms of insurance, a lot of landlords see fire systems just as an expense, like we mentioned earlier. But there's also insurance side of things and cost savings. And can you give us an example of a large installation, perhaps that you've done that was mainly driven from an insurance point of view, like, for example, a building never needed sprinkler systems, and now it's required because of the fire load or the change of tenant, whatever the case may be?
Yeah, I've heard this a lot, but I never needed fire sprinklers. And I go, yeah, because nobody ever looked at your building.
Yes. Risk assessment.
Risk assessments. It's all it comes down to. But yes, it does happen. We've had multiple clients where it's not a directive of the insurance to drive people towards sprinkler systems. It's more a directive in the sense of compliance and continuous compliance. So when you look at it, and mitigation of risks, insurance companies are there to mitigate risks. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's take, for instance, if you've got no fire sprinkler system in your building, okay, effectively you have a fire, the whole thing can burn down to the ground. All right. if they had a sprinkler system, that fire would most generally be contained to a specific square meterage.
Yes.
And that damage would be contained in that specific area.
Yeah.
So you're mitigating risk. And that's why the insurance give discounted premiums for clients where they've got sprinkler systems versus clients who don't.
Yeah.
And I find it fair because, at the end of the day, if I was an insurance company, I wouldn't want to cover someone that was a high risk.
Yes.
I mean, you see that we complain about sprinkler systems, but drive a Volkswagen Golf in South Africa. It's it costs you a lot of money in insurance because it's a high risk car.
Yes, yes.
So if you mitigate your risk, it's going to bring your insurance premiums down. It also brings your access down, and the savings lie in it for you in terms of what you're going to save on insurance premiums over time.
Yeah,
that essentially is paying for the sprinkler system. It's an immediate expense for a sprinkler system. It's a grudge purchase, and you immediately availing, whatever budget for that. But you can many times, like we said, approach the insurance guys, mitigate the plan. Yes, say, right, guys, you want me to have a sprinkler system. I've never needed one, right? Here is a corrective action plan.
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of the administration law in South Africa, we've got chance to proper administrative just procedure.
Yes.
It's a constitutional right, and when you look at it, you say, right, listen, let's mitigate this. Let's provide a plan to comply, a plan to install this. There are various factors. You can't invent money. Otherwise, you and I wouldn't sit here.
Yeah.
So the clients have the opportunity to say, right, listen, Mr. Insurance, we recognize the fact that you have called for this. We see the need. We're not in disagreement. The plan is as such, and put your phases together. Phase 1, we can afford to appoint the professionals and afford the professional fees in this instance to do the homework and provide us with the necessary requirements and plans.
Yeah.
And then your step 2 will be to go out and find companies that can do it. But the time frames you put to this, it's up to you. It's your business ultimately. You're going to have to pay for it. So you need to sit with your financial guys and say, listen, this is a requirement that we're going to have to do. Okay, there's no two ways about it. How do we approach this, and how do we phase this so that it doesn't, take everything from our bottom line?
Yeah.
And in many cases, that you'll go back with this corrective action plan to the insurance, and they might say, okay, right, we're happy with this, but the time frame on this is not acceptable, or that, and then come up with a practical
negotiation,
solution.
right?
That's it.
That's what it
Negotiate. I mean, I've never seen anyone not accept that. A negotiation in the sense where there's an actual corrective action plan and people take responsibility.
Yeah.
Insurance don't want to cover people that are irresponsible.
Yes.
I mean, it's just simple.
And not negotiating or not even.
No, you're not. It's not that you're negotiating on the rules. You're just mitigating and I would say
negotiating,
but you're negotiating the time frame.
Yes.
And saying, right, we are going to comply, but due to financial constraints or whatever it may be, or the size of our business, we're planning on doing this, and put a nice plan together. It's not rocket science today. There's so much artificial intelligence out there. ChatGPT could most probably tell most people how to design a sprinkler system by now. But just mitigate it and negotiate and show them how your attitude's positive towards this.
Yes.
I think that's the main thing. If recklessness, the difference between someone that's reckless and someone that plans something is the fact that the one wants to get away with saying why he doesn't need it, and the other oaks is right. I understand the fact that you're saying I need it, but can we do it like this?
Yes.
Create that opportunity.
Yes. I would like to intentionally, because we are in the Western Cape and because we've got wine farms, fruit, the big apple farms, around us. I would like to talk about pack houses. And
Hot topic.
hot topic. It's something that I want to intentionally talk about this so that we can help educate the farmers on this decision. And because I've got a pack house, but it's standing empty out of season for 7 months, 6, 7, 8 months. Why do I need a sprinkler system? Is it really necessary? Zenti, if you can give us a little bit of examples of what you've seen out there and what you would advise to Mr. Farmer that needs to get his pack house compliant.
Now, this is the one instance where the boer cannot make a plan. To put a little bit tongue in cheek there, but looking at pack houses, we've been very involved with pack houses over the past few years. I mean, I think in the essence, farmers moved from where they would struggle with the logistical aspect of taking fruit from their farm to a cold storage facility in towns or in cities, and then exporting from there. There's more freshness involved in immediately, flash freezing or storing fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
And
on site.
Yeah, I mean, listen, South Africa exports so much vegetables. I've never seen bananas proudly South African like I did in Spain. I kid you not.
Yeah.
It was the nicest bananas I've ever seen. But that is the reality.
Yes.
We export a substantial amount of fruit and vegetable.
Yeah.
And these pack houses are just the next step for the farmers. They've already got the farm. It's been a generational farm in many instances.
Mm-hmm.
And the next step in the business is, let's change our cost structure slightly and flash freeze our own products, do our own distribution. And that's great. And I support that 100% fully, because our farmers need all the support they can in South Africa.
Yes.
The problem comes in, if you look at where these locations are, in citrus, especially Western Cape, we're talking about a place that gets so hot, you can bake an egg on a rock,
Yes.
I mean, Citrus Dal,
Yes.
and those type of places in summer, it is serious.
Yes.
And most of the time, these places stand empty during those periods.
Yes.
Because these harvest seasons, obviously depending on what they do, run different time frames. The main risk with the packing warehouse is not the fact of what they are doing there. Because, I mean, essentially, our combustible is a potato.
Yeah.
Or an onion, Onions may be more than potatoes.
Yeah.
If you've ever tried to clean your braai with the onion, you'll know.
Yes.
You don't take that skins off, they burn.
Yes.
But if you look at it, the actual product has a very low classification, and pack houses generally are zoned as or classified as J3 occupancies because of the low calorific value of the actual product when it comes to fire. Mm-hmm. However, the ISO paneling that makes up these pack houses, essentially you've got outer layers of aluminium, which in heat, what aluminium does, it just crumbles. And then in the center, you've got polystyrene. Now, polystyrene is very flammable, firstly. Secondly, if it starts burning, it's rapid spread. And you've got the liquid that turns into a liquid from a solid when it starts burning.
Yes.
So it starts running out and the fire just keeps spreading.
Yes.
So what will happen is, if a fire had to start, that whole cold room structure will collapse very, very rapidly. And the building itself will start having this massive fire plume due to all this other materials and this liquid burning, that the structure will start failing of the actual building.
Yeah.
And that's why sprinkler systems are recommended for packing warehouses. I mean, you might get it sometimes where a packing warehouse is where the insurance doesn't require it, because they deem it as a low risk, and they say as long as you comply with the building regulations and there's a fire engineer that says they're happy with the layout and there's enough hand fire appliances, you might get away with it. Great. But in some instances, the roof, the ceiling to the actual ISO panels not that great, or it's too great, and they need protection.
Yeah.
it's better to get that installed, because after all, it's not just about protecting the products or protecting their lives, but it's also protecting the structural integrity in the event of a fire.
Yeah, because your fire department is not close by.
Think about it. Like in Citrusdal, I mean, I don't know where even the closest fire department is there.
Yeah.
I mean, they must probably...
The pack house is done.
Yeah, it's probably going to come from Saldanha or somewhere like that, or Klein Willem.
Yeah.
That's most probably the closest.
Yeah.
Now, you've seen the rate of the fire spread we had in the racks with cardboard boxes, which is a way lower risk than polystyrene. Can you imagine a pack house?
Yeah.
The ASIB paneling start burning and collapsing, and it will be chaos.
Yes. Now, after that video we saw, it's definitely that'll be much quicker and more violent.
100%.
So yeah, just to start wrapping up, Zenti, I think we've given the viewers and listeners a lot of advice, but if there's maybe one last bit of advice that you want to provide owners, landlords, or tenants about fire safety and sprinkler systems in South Africa, what would it be?
I think I've got a bit of a golden rule in the sense of how I look at a building when I walk into it, if I'm going to have to provide them with any sort of fire system. And I think what I want to leave them with is not advice on install a sprinkler system or anything. I want to provide them with a tool that can help them look at their system themselves and say, ooh, I might have a bit of a problem here. And it's very simple. You always have to ask yourself 3 questions. What am I storing? How am I storing it? And how high am I storing it?
Yeah.
And get the answer to all 3 those questions. Write it down. Either do the homework yourself or consult a professional and say, listen, yeah, I've got this product. I'm storing it in this method, whether it's freestanding or rack or whatever, and I'm storing it this high. Am I, contravening any laws? Am I still within good practice? And then they'll tell them, yeah, it's fine. Or, oof, you got to lower those stacking heights. It's a bit high. And then it's some free advice, or say, oh, I wouldn't stack it like that product. You can only go this high. You got to do this and this. That's a free advice that you can get over the phone.
Yes.
Most of the times, if you can provide any consultant with those 3 things. So I think my advice is go out there today, or well, not right now, maybe you're sitting at home or whatever, but go out there, go and look at your system. Or look at your tenants' occupancies. Go do a visit. Go visit your tenants. As a landlord, go visit your tenants and say, right, let me ask yourself these questions. What are they storing? How are they storing it? And how are they storing it? So that you can go and get advice and go back to your tenant and say, well, but listen, meneer, you need to drop your storage heights.
Yes.
Or you need to install a sprinkler system.
Yeah.
I think that's going to help. The people out there a lot more than me saying install a sprinkler system. Just go out there, be proactive, be part of it, get involved, and create a culture where, and identity for this culture where you can say, we want to comply. We understand that there's regular changes that are going to happen. And it's going to be a continuous effort, but we're in it.
Yeah,
we're here to protect lives. We're here to protect our businesses. If your business has to burn down, I mean, Neil, to be honest with you, if your business burns down, you are down for months. People lose jobs. Everyone loses income. Some businesses I've seen out there don't ever recover from that.
Yes.
So make sure you protect your livelihood, the livelihood of the people that work for you. You're responsible for them ultimately.
Yeah.
And work together with companies out there and authorities to remain compliant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Zenti, I really want to, from the bottom of our hearts, everyone that's listening and watching, I want to thank you for your time, for coming here to share your experience and giving, valuable advice. And so if you're a property owner, if you are a business owner, a landlord, please reach out to Jonx. We have been around the block. We can connect you with relevant people like Zenti or any other specialist the case may be. But please feel free to pick up the phone and to chat with us, and let's work together to get your businesses compliant and ultimately to help each other. So thank you very much, Zenti.
Okay, thank
Appreciate
you, Neil.
it.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
And I look forward to what you guys are doing in the future. It's been fantastic working with you guys on down on the ground, because you're also agents for me.
Yes. Yeah.
But phenomenal the way you guys have taken an approach to fire safety, and thanks for helping put out a good word for fire safety and fire safety culture and safety culture overall.
Yes.
I think it's a really good thing that you guys are doing this.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Zenti. And please stay tuned. Share this. Share this with other people that and business owners that needs it. And let's get the word out there. And if you've got any requests in terms of podcasts going forward where we can help industry in South Africa and the Western Cape, then please reach out.